Welcome to the Great Melting Pot, where we interview people about their stories of migration to the United States and learn about where we come from and how history informs who we are today. I'm Yanthe Jackson, the host of the Great Melting Pot. In this episode, we're interviewing Lillis Mclean, talking about her grandparents coming to the United States from Ireland in the late 1800s. Lillis Mclean is my aunt, and she's speaking about my great-grandparents. Hi, Aunt Lil. Welcome to the Great Melting Pot. I'm here to interview you first about the immigration story of my great-grandmother and your grandmother.
And grandfather.
And grandfather, correct. So my grandmother's parents.
Okay.
All right. Here we go.
Well, my grandparents' names were Margaret Murphy Meskel and Michael Meskel. They were from County Clare, Ireland. They migrated to the United States around the turn of the century. Grandma was to marry her fiancé and arrived in Boston, found him very ill, stayed to take care of him till he died, and then, because her brother was in Buffalo, came here and married Michael Meskel, who was from Kildysart. The village that Grandma was from, I'm not sure. I remember Grandma, who's, as was typical of her generation, wore her skirts to her ankle.
Oh, wow.
And would stand by the sink, but she would be peeling potatoes or apples. And Blanche always commented she was the only person that she ever saw peel an apple all the way around without breaking the peel. And next to the house was a big plot of land, grew vegetables on, and I remember it very well. There were planks between the different plots. It was a very big garden. It was a nice little homestead kind of place,
right.
Which was typical, I think, of immigrants from everywhere.
Sure, like a little kitchen garden.
Like a little, right. The Polish, the Italians, everybody had their own area to grow fresh vegetables.
Okay, so what is the story of your father's parents, Mike?
Well, all I know is that the Scots, we think, came to Canada Christmas Eve, I think in 1847. The ship cracked up on Entry Island, and they think it sailed from Liverpool, cracked up, the people were rescued, stayed on the island, and intermarried. Their daughter was Lillis, and another daughter was Eveline, and Lillis had 17 children, one of whom died, and she's buried there with her husband, Seward. Their graves are on grindstone, so she raised her children there, and Eric, my father, could not work on the boat. What I heard is he had one kidney. So his mother sent him to the French priest, and by that time, all the Mcleans had become Protestant. They really had to because they had no other way of surviving. So he was educated as an accountant by the French priest, and he was born in 1902, and he came down to Buffalo in 1922 and worked for General Electric.
What do you think were difficult, if you've ever heard of a difficult challenge that any of them faced in their
the one that comes immediately to mind is with the crash of 1929 and the beginning of the Great Depression. All my mother's siblings and their spouses had no jobs.
Oh, okay.
So they all came to live at Grandma and Grandpa Meskel's house. And the interesting thing is, most of them married Protestants. And I was amazed at that only because, they were pretty strict Catholics. But it shows, one, it didn't matter that much.
Right.
And two, it was totally especially Grandma Meskel's character, she would accept everyone.
Right,
She simply didn't care.
Yeah.
that has traveled down the family too.
Yeah, right.
I think.
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay, and then my next question is, how do you think that them coming here has contributed to this country? Like, of course, we're talking about generations now, because it's not like we're not like I'm interviewing somebody who's come in their own lifetime, but like, so we've seen this sort of history of somebody coming, 2 generations ago. Now that there's like grandchildren, great grandchildren, and like, how do you think that them coming here has contributed to the United States?
With Grandpa Mescal, he was head carpenter for his company, which was probably Worthington Steam and Shovel. He was the head carpenter for his part of the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo in 1901. My father, Eric Mclean, listened to the broadcast of Hitler's invasion of Poland, and as they listened to the radio, he said to my mother, as a Canadian now, if Britain goes to war, so will we. I am opening the plant tomorrow. Wow. So he did, and he built tank parts, and so they all then were shipped to Berwick, Pennsylvania, where they were assembled into tanks and sent to Europe.
Wow. What do you think, or what are your concerns about the future of immigration policy in the United States?
Well, the immediate concern is that we've totally lost the idea, with Trump's election, that America was open to everyone, even though that was not consistent or ever very fair. I mean, there are all kinds of laws and restrictions. People who are not European ancestry, all the different groups have contributed, and the country has for centuries had acknowledged that this is a democracy and people are entitled by virtue of all men are created equal in the Declaration of Independence to find their purpose and their life work and enjoy their families here.
Okay, so what are your hopes and dreams for the future of immigration in America?
That we return to an respectful regard for the needs of peoples of the world, also acknowledging that we cannot take care of everybody because we don't have the resources or even the political will to ensure that people who come here will find, housing and food and everything they need just to survive. We do not want to create an underclass. We do not want to create people who are second-class citizens. We want to maintain equality of opportunity and access to citizenship.
If you look at now, like us, how we've contributed because of this opportunity that they had to come here.
Well, I think really fortunate is that your grandmother, so she ensured that her children, especially because she was a widow with 6 minor children, got an education.
Right.
So that they could support themselves. And that inspired everybody else to get an education.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Aunt Lil.
Okay.
I think we got it. Thank you for listening to The Great Melting Pot with Lillis Mclean talking about her grandparents coming to the United States from Ireland in the late 1800s. Tune in for the next episode.